Hi guys, I would like to show you a little tool I made for RIB export from Houdini with Renderman because in the pipeline I like to use grooming in Houdini, which is very powerful, and export all the air I made. So here's a little scene, a standard grooming scene with two air gen with the same guide sim, so it's not very complicated, it's only for the test. Okay, as you see, okay, the air gen are exactly the same, but the density is quite bigger on the second one. So I figure out the best way to export all the airs is to use RIB archive, so I can use that kind of format in other software like Maya to shade and rendering, for example. The problem is sometimes it's quite heavy to export a lot of hair with RIB archive, so I decided to make this kind of tool, which have the particularity that you first render in the temp folder, which is local, and then copy the results in destination folder, which is more speed and can be very useful when you have huge RIB file. So here is a quick tour. So here I said you can or not use a temp folder, but on this time I will use most of time, and you can add some jobs so you can export. For example, here I have got the first job which export that error, and the second job which export that error. So you can put a different name, you can enable or suppress or disable a job, which can be very useful if you have to re-render and don't want to reset all the things. After that, you've got the Renderman settings. Here for Renderman you have to have a camera to export archive. Here the frame range, of course, as perhaps you know, you must export motion blur in archive if you want to add blur with the RIB archive. So I just put a little tick, and I made a little tricks for single frame because TopSnap don't handle $f value, hashcube value, so I made this kind of trick. So if I click on this button, it just take the current frame. Could be very useful to just test the pipeline before rendering the whole frame. So here it's okay. And then the cook settings, you can choose to render frame by frame or one by one. One by one is preferred for a huge file, as I said, because sometimes you're out of memory and it could crash. So but for little RIB you can use frame by frame, and it will export all the job for each frame in the same time. It depends on your computer, of course. A moving file, you can the same for moving file. Wait for all frame to rendering, and after that copy in destination folder and suppress or not, or one by one. On each job you can overwrite a temp folder or a destination folder as you wish. And keep the temp file you made. Perhaps this could be useful if you've got a lot of drive and you want to keep everything. And here we go. I will set my job processing to frame by frame and moving one by one. My settings quite okay. And then here we go. Let's go inside. So I render, I cook the topnet. So here is my network. First of all, I just generate the free job because I've got free job here. Make some attributes. Iteration is index +1 because the list begin here at 1, so it's easier for the rest of the network. I check if the enable tick is on or off. I delete all the job where enable is off. I use or not temporary directory here, and here is a little Python script to override the temp folder or destination folder. Here is the frame range with the trick I show you for the current frame and the frame range. After that you've got a raw fetch, which is takes this RIB reswap inside. So as you can see, it render because I put frame by frame, it render 2 RIBs because I've got 2 jobs, and after that it copy the file on the network. So I can show you the result, and after that It will suppress the file or not if you untick that kind of thing. One is quite useful is to use that kind of folder button which opens the folder, and as you can see is working, and each time a frame is finished, a copy on the network. Here is the network and here is the local, so it's not very heavy file, but it works. Here we go. Thank you for watching.